Hey guys, welcome to the Let's Have a Conversation podcast, and I'm here with a special guest today. Um, One of them is a mentor to me. He has helped me through a lot of things, like life situations, and helped me find God and walk the path with Him. And his name is Sarah. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong person. His name is Hardy Brown. And he's a really, really important person to me. And then we have another really important guest. Her name is Sarah. She has, you fine with me?
Yeah.
Oh, she has diabetes, and I've been training her and working her out. She's been getting stronger. Unfortunately, she stopped for about 2 weeks. I don't know what happened. She probably lost a lot of strength, but she's really great. She knows a lot for her age, which is really awesome. So, yeah, so let's get into it.
All right.
Yeah. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about, which we kind of talked about a little bit in the car ride here, was like relationships and stuff, and stuff like people dating like outside of their age group, basically. So like from 35 to like 17 was one of them and everything. What do you think about that? Like stuff like that.
Oh, interesting topic.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it. I'm kind of a case by case basis. I mean, if it works, it works. But
Right.
there certainly are some difficulties when you start bridging age spans as far as getting interests to align and things like that. But I've seen it work really well.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, for me, I don't know. It's been like certain states kind of look at it, and certain people in those certain states kind of look at it like, well, that's not right. You shouldn't do that, and stuff like that. So, and then also it's just like, but there's a lot of people who has made it work who are like maybe 10 years off or 5 years off,
Yeah.
and everything, and I've seen it work before, but a lot of the times it's like, no, that shouldn't work. Like,
Yeah.
you guys don't know what you're talking about. Like especially the millennial age now where everybody's on their phone. But
True.
you got 35-year-olds who's on their phones as well too.
That's
So.
true. Well, I think the later you get in life, the better it works.
Right.
It can be scandalous if you're a senior dating a freshman, but if you're 55 and fall in love with a 37-year-old,
Right.
but it's always funny to laugh about that you could have been 27 changing their diapers.
Yeah.
It's always worth a laugh, but
Right.
it gets better the older you get, easier.
Oh yeah. And what's the age difference between you and
We're just a year and a half, so pretty
wow.
close. Yeah.
Okay. I kind of assumed that because when you told me the story how you guys met was like in college
Yeah.
and everything, and it was like, I don't know, it's the funniest story ever. I love that story. It's the basically the fat ankles thing. Like,
Yeah.
you were like,
Oh, yeah.
I remember that one. I'm like, okay,
Just let me know if you want to go there.
oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, can you tell us a little
Okay,
bit?
yeah. Well, yeah, I had fallen in love with Robin, and we'd met here going to school. We'd been dating for a while, and I knew she was the one. And one day I dropped her off at her apartment, and as she was going up the stairs, the Lord showed me, and she didn't really have these, but all of a sudden I saw that she had really, really fat ankles. And I was like, oh, I never noticed that before.
Right.
It would later turn out to be an illusion, but I did not know this. So I drove home that day, and the Lord started this dialogue with me like, oh, so fat ankles bother you? I was like, oh, no, I just never noticed them at all. He goes, oh, well, supposing fat ankles did bother you, do you realize what you're signing on for here? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. And so the Lord started to show me, though, started to ask me a series of questions like, why do you think you want to marry this girl? And I'd be like, well, because, she's amazing. She has a great sense of humor. She's energetic. I mean, I just really, really enjoy being with her energy. And the Lord would be like, well, do you think it's always going to be like that? I'm like, well, I don't know. And so the Lord showed me she was like basically still a high school student. She was in her first year of college. And he was like, so she's going to become a late college person. That's going to be a change of personality. Then she'll become a young married woman. That's going to change her personality. Then she's going to have young kids. toddlers. That's going to change her personality. Then she's going to be a mom of teenagers. That's going to change her personality. Then she's going to be a mom of college age and finally an empty nester. And you're telling me that you're going to love her through all of those stages, and yet you don't know what you're going to get a hold of. And it just blew my mind, and all over this image of fat ankles. And I was like, oh. And the Lord was like, she could wind up looking any given way. She could be in a car accident. She might not have her mobility. She might not think you're fun anymore. Probably won't, and so it really blew my mind, and I began to see marriage as really the most illogical thing that we can do on earth, the most high stakes, illogical, high risk thing that you can take on. And of course the millennials have pretty much cashed in marriage.
Right.
It's not big anymore, and I don't mean to say that. I also think marriage is the most rewarding thing we can find on planet Earth other than a relationship with God. But I think it's also the most difficult and really needs to be taken with a real sober view of. And the Lord spent about 2 weeks with me just going, you need a better answer, you need a better answer, you need a better answer. And I finally got down to some really, really core stuff about who she was and who I was, and the Lord went, okay, that's a good answer. And then it was like we were approved.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know, like, at first I kind of dispute the idea of, like, marriage and everything. And it was like, why get married if you love each other? If you love each other enough to, like, not get married and all that stuff. So I just thought, like, you know what? I'm just going to find me a girl that, we can stay together, not get married. And also, like, I don't know why I had this idea, but if we didn't get married and we broke up, she can't have my money or my house. She'd be on her own and everything. I'm fine with that. But then it's like, it's kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say an ownership type of thing. I want to say like more of a partnership, because it's something that you can just work on if you get married and everything. So I don't know. It's kind of like a difficult topic, right, for me right now and everything. So
yeah,
like when I looked at, your marriage and, the Rose marriage and everything, it's like, oh, I mean, shit, they're making it work. Like,
it's so worth it.
Right.
But it's really hard. If we look at what God's done with marriage, He created a covenant, which is really different. We have a ceremony today. He created a covenant. And if you really look at what He's done, marriage, if it's done biblically, should be a blood covenant.
Right.
I mean, it should be the first time that sexual intercourse has been had. And so it's really, really strong voodoo, if you will, to use a really strong term. And then if you look at the way the body releases endorphins, and you were to not have released those endorphins through sexual play, the touch and caress of the intimate parts of the human body, especially the female body, releases bonding endorphins that are super, super strong chemically. Well, now in our society, boys and girls are beginning to use up those chemicals in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. There is no blood covenant. There is no bonding endorphins left. Our hearts have been so shattered so many times. We get to marriage as an empty vessel, and instead of really coming together and making this incredible sexual chemical bond, and then beginning to explore each other's hearts for a lifetime, our hearts already been so given away and ripped apart. We arrive at marriage with nothing. We arrive bankrupt, and I think there's a lot at stake. And really, marriage done right is costly. But the guy that says, well, I would be bored with one woman, doesn't really understand the human heart.
Right.
God made us to be fascinating to Him for a lifetime. We're fascinating to Him. That's how complex we are. And to really get to know one woman, you want a lifetime. I want 1,000 lifetimes to get to know Robin. I'm still finding places in her heart that are just amazing to me. There are mysteries and amazing. And she's still discovering her heart. And to be along for the ride while she discovers her heart and I discover my heart is one of the most amazing blessings on this planet, but also one of the most costly. There's nothing more costly than marriage on this planet.
And for you, Sarah, so you told me you have a boyfriend and everything, right? Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about how you guys met, or?
I mean, he used to work with me. So, yeah, I just met him there. He goes to my school. He's a year younger than me.
Oh, scandalous. Yeah. There it is right there, folks.
Yeah, I don't know. I never date people my age. It's normally older. Just I think like the mentality view of it is like where I go for it, and I like people older because I think I'm more mature for my age. Like mainly because of diabetes, I learned younger to care for myself and all this stuff. So I normally go for older people, but I don't know, there's something about him. He's just really like playful, and I like that. And he's still mature most of the time, so it's okay for that age difference. Yeah, I don't know. I forgot your other question. If you had one.
No. That was just that one question actually, and so you said you matured because of diabetes, pretty much, and
Yeah, I think that was like a big thing with it because I like my parents still don't know a lot about diabetes. I just took everything on myself because it is my life. So if I want to take care of my own life, then it's on me, not them.
How did you discover the diabetes? Did you start having other problems and do some testing, or did it just come up?
Yeah, it was like a year thing. I was in 8th grade, I think, and I was just losing weight. I was on like powerlifting, and then throughout the year, I could lift less and less, and I was working out every day. Was super thirsty, super tired. I couldn't really talk like a lot, like breathe in. Like my parents thought I was on drugs or I was just dying. They would take me to the doctor like every month, and they said I had a sinus infection. And then finally, I was like, this is the 5th time y'all told me that. So they like tested, they did blood work and all this, and they're like, oh, you have diabetes. So
Oh, wow.
hospitalized on 4th of July.
They hospitalized you.
Yeah.
So it was way out of whack. Like your
Yeah.
blood sugars were nil.
Yeah, I was in there for like 4 days.
Wow. So how did that hit you emotionally? What's that do to you?
Emotionally, I didn't really know what was going on. I knew as soon as they hooked me up to the IV with insulin, like I was feeling a bit better. But it was also like a train wreck. Like of all this stuff I was carrying and like slowly dying.
So your blood sugar was high.
Yeah.
Okay. I went the wrong way on that.
Yeah, no. It was like 800. Like it was really high. Like emotionally, I didn't really know what to do. I was only 12. I was just like more worried for my parents because like I was in the hospital for 4 days. I knew it was expensive. I knew like having care for it was expensive. And my dad earlier that year was like trying to save money, so we got rid of our health insurance. And then so that was like a big thing. And I don't know, I just felt like a burden, so I was just super depressed for like a year. I was ashamed of it because of stereotypes with diabetes, so I never like told anyone I had it. If I did, they would like chase me down the halls, like say stupid things about like sugary foods and whatever. So
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was just this big thing. I never told anyone until like 2 years after I was diagnosed, and I started not caring because it's like part of me.
Man.
Yeah.
For as long as I know you, I've never asked about it. I just kind of make fun of you. It's like,
No.
like you're training Sarah. Yeah, she has diabetes. I'm training a diabetes patient and all that stuff. It's like, but I always wanted to ask, but I was like, man, like, would that be too far, like, to ask or whatever? So I kind of just waited till we got to know each other a little more and everything. So I'm really like excited that you kind of, you know, your transition from like being depressed to like, oh, this is a part of me now. Like I gotta grow up. I gotta, you know, take my insulin shots and, you know, sometimes let other people give my insulin shots. That's a very scary process. Like she made me do it one time, and I was like, "What? I don't know what I'm doing. Am I killing you?" Or because it's crazy. But yeah, and that's crazy. Like just having diabetes, losing muscle and everything, getting weaker, and all that stuff, and like the research that I did when you told me you had diabetes and you're like, I'm ready to work out and all that. I'm like, man, like there's a lot of things to it. It's so crazy. But just hearing that you came to me and you're like, man, I got stronger. It feels good for me because I'm like, man, like I think I know what I'm doing, you know? So
now you did some research on diet and exercise coming together for type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
What'd you find out?
So I found out that they're supposed to have like natural sugars in their body rather than like the processed sugars and everything, and also that so she doesn't eat meat, right? Like so basically she has to have a lot more protein in her diet. So I was like, crap, what is she supposed to eat instead? So I found out that a lot of them eat nuts and beans and all that stuff. And, you know, so they're supposed to have a lot more protein, a lot less sugar, not too much. So they're supposed to eat basically pure.
Yeah.
And almost like not unhealthy. And it's crazy. But they can also, then I also found out that as soon as they get stronger and everything, you know, you gotta drink a lot more water than a normal person because of the dehydration and all that stuff. And as soon as you get dehydration, you can, and you still work out and you're not drinking water, you can go into a shock. And your body starts breaking down, and then you have to start all over again. So there's, it's the craziest like information in the world. It's like, damn, like you're almost like not a human if you know, no offense, yeah. It's like, but and then I read more. I'm like, okay, so that's like the doctor side of things. I looked up a diabetes guy who works out. He's pretty big, and he talks about how, it's not like I eat healthy all the time. Yeah, sometimes when you're planning a workout, you have to eat healthy before then, but after then, it's all game. You're fine, you know. So I was like, okay, I mean, this guy's a pretty fit guy. He's pretty big, so type 1 diabetes. So he's like, yeah, just drink a lot of water, and you'll be fine. Like, don't worry about it. You can go off your diet a little bit, but if you do it before then you go into a shock. Your body will start breaking down. But if you eat healthy before then and you start working out, it's fine. So I was like, man, okay. And it was a lot of pages. It was like, you gotta be shitting me. All this reading, and I could have went to this one guy with a video talking about how he processed his diabetes with working out. So it's like, okay, you know, because I don't know, to me, a lot of the times, people who write this stuff are people who've never been through the experience themselves. Right. So it's like, how do you know, you know? So
it's interesting to me that some of the most unhealthy eaters I know in my entire life are type 1 diabetics, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, we know type 2 diabetes responds fabulously to weight loss and diet, and responds most of the time, or a good percentage of the time, to no need for insulin.
Right.
But it's really good that you're stepping out and taking care of just the basic obligations we have as living beings to care for this suit we're wearing.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's the craziest thing ever. Is I like, definitely, when she told me like, hey, I'm ready to work out, also like, I got diabetes. We were walking in a park, right? And I was excited. I was like, that's awesome. And she goes, that's awesome. And I'm like, I mean, well, not awesome that you have diabetes. It's just awesome because like, this is a new challenge that I got, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I'm still like excited about it. I'm still like here to help and everything. And, you know, like I was telling you before, I'm like, man, like the more I walk with God, the more I meet different people, and just like, holy shit, like,
yeah,
you know, like.
So Sarah, I'm curious, when you got diagnosed, did you feel like you'd already been through the bottom and now it was coming up, or did you go through some really rough depression after diagnosis, or how'd that go for you?
It was like roller coaster. Like, I went through ups and downs with it. Like, I was so ashamed of it that I like didn't want to take shots in public. I would go to the bathroom, or I just wouldn't do it at all. I still have that every now and then. Like, every now and then I just get mad. I'm like, no one else has to do this but me. I don't want to.
That's rough. But so what is the protocol? Every meal you have to
every time
make
you
an adjustment?
I have like a ratio for the amount of carbs I eat to insulin, so I have to figure out how many carbs are on my plate. And like, I can go through a grocery store and be like, that loaf of bread has this many carbs per slice.
So you're a computer on that.
Yeah, but like, sometimes I forget or I don't know. And then restaurants are really hard. Like, you don't know if they put sugar in like their sauces or anything.
Probably did.
So
yeah. So is this avoid the blood prick? The finger prick?
Yeah,
you don't have to do blood.
I do finger prick.
You do? You have to estimate it and check your blood.
Yeah.
And is that not very accurate in the blood? To be able to tell how many sugars are in your blood?
It is. Yeah, my meter is pretty accurate. Like, every now and then you'll have to calibrate it if it just is saying numbers that are just stupid off. Like, you can kind of tell, because I can feel if I'm too high or low.
Oh, you can?
Most of the time, yeah. It really affects everything. Like, driving, if I'm too high or low, I can't drive. I can't work. Like, I had to leave work like 3 hours early and just sit in my car for an hour. So my blood sugar was too high.
Wow. Do you have a time of night when it hits 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, when it gets still, when your mind starts to go, or how does it tend to affect you? More during the day or at night, or what? As far as being depressed or being down or getting introspective, or
It honestly just like depends on the situation. A lot of the time it's like 1 o'clock if I'm like driving home or something, and I'm just like thinking about everything by myself, trying to turn up music.
mm-hmm.
Doesn't always work, but like it's gotten a lot better. Like I've met new people. I like embracing it by making them give me a shot, because then it's like, hey, like I have this and you're gonna deal with it right now too.
Oh,
I don't know,
nice.
it's just, and then it's teaching them about it. Like it scares the crap out of some people, but it's also important. Like if I'm in a state where I can't do it myself, like they need to know how to do it.
Oh, it's true.
So
Yeah. Have you gotten in that state?
I have. I was at a diabetes camp when it happened, so I wasn't in that much danger, but I was too low to like respond. I was just sitting there, wasn't saying anything. I don't remember any of it.
It's like right after the candy bar eating contest.
The what? No, I was just laying.
I
on my
won!
leg. My blood sugar, it was like 17, so it was like really low.
Oh, it went low.
Wasn't, yeah,
Okay.
wasn't moving, because sometimes I can't tell if I'm just hungry or if I'm shaking from like being nervous, or my blood sugar's low. So I didn't do anything, and then it just dropped.
Wow. How was diabetes camp?
Oh, it's great. I love
Really?
it. Yeah, I've gone there for 5 years, 3 weeks.
Just because that's like the fam, the home.
That's like what truly made me learn to embrace it. Because my school, like, there was one other diabetic.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
What are the numbers per 1,000 or 10,000? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I think it's like 30% of America's like type 1 or type 2.
Yeah,
and
that sounds about
10%
right.
of that is type 1.
Oh, so about 3%.
Yeah.
So yeah, you wouldn't run across many of them then. Huh.
So that camp was my network. It made me feel less alone. I still talk to them all the time.
You've only been one time.
No, I've been for 4 years.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
4 years of diabetes camp. Is it so like what do you guys like normally like do there for a diabetes camp? Is it like tell you more about your diabetes, or is it like, hey, this is a safe space, all of us have diabetes, we're just gonna hang out? What?
Well, it's a 3-week camp. You stay there. It's in Gainesville, and the age group is like 4 to 18.
Right.
So they have classes like every afternoon. There's like an hour class teaching you like something else about diabetes, depending on your age group. And then like throughout the camp, like there's a lake. You can do anything like a normal camp would have. We go to water parks, all this stuff, just showing like how to treat your diabetes, how you can do all these different situations,
Right.
and like how you can still do it. And they keep you super active. So it's always great for my blood sugars, because I come back and then like the next few months they're like perfect.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so you have to like keep active basically to oh man, that's like freaking perfect though. I don't know, like in a way I guess, but you know, because you know there's a lot of, I guess, you know, me and you work out and everything, right? But outside of that, what do you normally do to like keep it balanced, I guess, activity wise basically?
Activity wise, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. Most of the time, if I'm doing something, I'm at work. So that's
Yeah.
basic activity. I don't do a lot. I used to. If my blood sugar was too high, I would like run up and down the stairs and do like jumping jacks and push-ups, and that would bring it down.
Oh, just burn some sugar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it works. But now, like, I have different phases of highs, where one of them I'm just like so tired I feel like a zombie, I can't do anything, and then I take a nap and that brings it down. Or I just
Okay, so when that happens, your blood sugar is high.
Yeah.
It wipes you out. Okay.
Yeah, that's whenever I like can't drive.
Okay.
And then there's the energetic one where I was like, okay, I want to go up the stairs and do all this stuff, and that'll bring it down. If I just don't feel like it, I'll just take insulin, drink some water, wait a few hours.
How quick does the insulin hit?
It starts working in 7 minutes, and then
Oh, that's actually a long time.
yeah, it's a new one. It's updated. So
Okay.
it used to take like 20, I think.
Oh, really?
Which is really hard because like you get your food, you take your shot, you don't eat it, but if you do that, you'll just spike up, and then you'll feel miserable halfway through. Basically, like Thanksgiving dinner, how y'all feel after that? every meal.
I was gonna say that. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that feeling. You're like, oh my. Ooh, turkey though.
So here's a question for you, right? Because a lot of people have asked me, and it's kind of just like I avoid it every time. And the question is like, because they go, "Hey, why don't you celebrate Christmas?" And I go, I don't know. Like I don't know. I'm just gonna, yeah. Let me go back to work. So like, what's? I'm trying to figure out. Like I always try to figure out what is the reason, like, for not celebrating Christmas, basically.
Do you not?
Well, this year we like kind of didn't, like, at all. Like we, the year before that it was like, you know, a little bit, and then the year before that we kind of so, but like this year was like, okay, you know what? I don't feel it today. Christmas kind of just wears me out. Yeah. So.
For those of you at home trying to track with this conversation, my eyes crossed there for a minute going, let's see, sometimes I just feel like running around. Hey, speaking of that, why don't you celebrate Christmas? Yes, we're coming off a mention of Thanksgiving, followed by Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you guys brought up Thanksgiving. So,
you know, really interesting what the Lord's done in our life. We were celebrating Christmas at my mom's house, mom and dad's house, which was basically just an incredible time, as close to the Waltons as you could ever get. And we were having just, you know, perfect Christmas, balance, not too many presents. We'd been to candlelight service centered around Jesus, you know, just textbook perfect Christmas. Mm. And all of a sudden I started to have this feeling, and I started to go, what's this? It just felt really empty,
right,
like hauntingly empty. And all of a sudden it started to connect back to the previous Christmas, and the previous Christmas, and the previous Christmas. And all of a sudden, like, all these Christmases just kind of stacked. And I could see that every Christmas I've ever participated in, I've had this just haunting, empty feeling. And as I was sitting there, I was like, I knew the Lord was doing something. I was like, Lord, you're showing me something. And I began to realize, I think I'm realizing something that's going to free me. Like, I don't have to do this anymore.
Right.
And my mind was racing. I'm still opening the last of my presents, and I'm going, what does this mean to be an American and not participate in American Christian Christmas?
Right.
So then my next thought went to, well, this is going to be a problem. We only had Daniel at the time. He was little. We're over at the grandparents' house. I mean, it's, you know, super mega special. Grandkids coming over. I was like, what are the odds Robin's going to buy this?
Right.
So I was like, well, okay. So we finished out the evening, loaded up the car. We lived one street over. Car door closes on the right. Car door closes on the left. We're backing out, waving. And I turn to Robin and say, I think that might have been my last Christmas ever. And she turns to me and says, yeah, I got the same thing. We were both so shocked.
Yeah.
We just rode the rest of the way around the block just in total silence. And then the next year we didn't, you know, quote, go to Christmas. We didn't try to alter it. We just didn't go. We, of course, we informed the family, you know, we're out.
Right.
And they were like, well, what, you know, are you not Christian anymore? Are you know, don't love Jesus? You know, what's the problem? We're like, we don't know. We just don't want to, don't have to, and kind of can't. It's like all three of those.
Right.
And so we went that Christmas, and then all the way around the next Christmas. We literally had no idea. In fact, that first Christmas, Christmas Eve, there was almost audible demons like laughing at us, just like, you guys are the most ridiculous thing ever. It was really crazy. There's a little bit of insanity with it, even though we just spent the night in prayer, and it was a really sweet night. Well, finally, about 2.5 years later, we went to hear a man named Michael Rood teaching on the prophetic fulfillment of the feasts of the Lord. And we began to understand that the Lord has 7 feasts laid out in the scriptures. In Leviticus 23, he says, now these are my feasts, says the Lord.
Right.
And I'd always understood those to be the Jewish feasts or something else. And as was pointed out in that seminar, it was like, no, these are the Lord's feasts, the only feasts he'll ever have. We don't add to them, we don't take away, and there's no feast for Jesus' birthday. And then he went on to show that, you know, in sun god worship, December 22nd had always been marked as the day the sun dies. So the sun gets weaker and weaker and weaker every day, all year, from the summer equinox, summer, yeah, and then all the way around to the winter. Oh, solstice, summer solstice, and then all the way around to the winter solstice. It gets weaker and weaker and weaker every day. Well, if you're a sun god worshiper, that's a big deal. More sacrifices, more concern, more prayer, until it gets in the 22nd, and it doesn't get any stronger, but it doesn't get any weaker. And then the 23rd, it doesn't get any stronger, doesn't get any weaker. And the 24th doesn't get any stronger, doesn't get any weaker. In other words, it lays in the grave for 3 days. And then on the 25th, the sun god is reborn. And these traditions go back ancient. They would celebrate this season with bringing evergreen trees into their home. They would decorate that with balls, which have very deep, twisted meaning, and they would give presents to each other, and they would make sacrifices to see the sun god reborn. And then when the sun god was reborn on December 25th, in numerous cultures around the world, that is the birthday of the sun god, and it's not when our Savior was born. Well, we found out this 2 years later, and we began to celebrate the Feast of the Lord, and it's been really, really marvelous. So we don't celebrate the Christmas because it's not one of the Lord's feasts.
Right.
The Lord told us we didn't have to, and we're very glad not to have to. And then it's rooted deeply in just abject paganism. Well, a lot of people, just to take it one step forward, say, well, it's not what it means to me. It doesn't mean sun god worship to me. I mean, that's when I choose to celebrate it. It doesn't have to be exactly technically correct when he was born, but this is just what we do. Okay, fine. But it would be similar to me marrying Robin and saying, do you mind if we celebrate our anniversary on, it's really on December 19th, would you mind if we celebrated on March 12th? And she said, well, why March 12th? Well, because my previous girlfriend, that was our anniversary, and it's just more convenient for me to celebrate you and my anniversary on that anniversary because it's when I've always done it. Well, she would be highly offended. And I think there's a really good case that can be made that, if we're not very, very, very careful about this, we're really doing something very similar in saying, can I celebrate your birth on this other birthday?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit crazy. But, it's interesting. The traditions we were raised with become ingrained, and they really are very, very controlling. There's a huge cost to breaking out of those traditions.
Right.
But this year, from Thanksgiving on, instead of thinking about constantly what I'm going to get Aunt Nellie and spending about whatever $6,000 we don't really have budgeted
Right.
for that, while everybody else is scurrying around, we have just the most intense season with the Lord, with the family, just hanging out, hiding away while the rest of the world is rushing around. So
Yeah.
it's really become an amazing thing.
Yeah, let's see. For me, I think it was basically Black Friday 2014. And it was like the year that my mom finally decided, like, hey, let's just do Black Friday, see what that's like, right? And
Why can't it be black and white Friday?
yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. So we're just, me and my brother, older brother, sits in the car. We're like, nah, we're not feeling it. So we're just sitting in the car, and we watch all these people just like really rush in and just like pushing each other down and all that stuff. And me and my brother's like, shit. Our mom, like, holy crap, we gotta go see if she's okay. This lady is so strong that she was the one to start pushing people down and like, get out the way, like I gotta
This
get
lady,
this.
your mom?
Yeah. So she started the whole thing.
Go,
basically.
Mom!
Yeah. So we're like,
What was
Jesus.
she after? The flat screen? What was it this year?
Yeah, the flash
The
screen.
flat
Yeah,
screen?
she got 2 of them actually, and it's like Jesus Christ.
Those things are
lady.
big. You gotta
Yeah.
be really strong to take down 2 of those.
Exactly. So it's like, damn, like, how did you do that? And she's like, well, I just got one of this guy to get it down for me for a, she had something in her hand that he really wanted for, like, his daughter. And I'm like, so you thought of, like, really that hard? And she's like, yeah, like, you gotta get something that somebody wants.
Okay,
in
wait a minute. I'm
exchange.
picturing like the Sherlock Holmes scenes where he's meditating how he's gonna debilitate his foe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, like
Way
after
to go, Mom!
exactly. So like after that, I was
Next year
like,
she's like, I'm going for 3 next year, whether we need them or not.
so like after that, I don't know. It was just like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Like I can't do the whole like waiting till it gets cheap and like fighting people for something. And she doesn't celebrate Christmas either, like at all. Like it's not a part of like her thing, like at all. So she never celebrated Christmas.
Interesting.
Yeah, the only reason why she wanted to do it was, I think it was just for the TVs, actually.
It's more of a sporting event.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like, it was an Olympic for her. Like, she just decided that one day that she wanted to do it. So after that, I was like, okay, I think I'm done with this. I don't want to do it anymore. But my dad kept doing it, and I was like, okay, this is more important for him to do it, you know, basically. So, like, I love the whole decorating and the music and all that stuff. I love that part of it.
Yeah.
Right? I don't like the gift shopping and all that stuff. Like, me and my brothers, Dave and Derek, have been very simple. It's like, hey, we just want a PlayStation, a couple of games, and that's it. That's all we ever get. Like, a newer PlayStation and a couple of games, and that was it. And maybe some clothes. So, like, for him, it was like, okay, cool, I can get that even way before Black Friday. So we always kind of picked our gifts in a way. We never really believed in Santa Claus, but, like, you know, we did it for him mostly. And this year it was like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done with it. But he cooked and everything. It was fun and all that. But yeah, we stopped doing it like this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, like completely.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Very interesting.
Oh yeah, I think it's probably like the most funnest time ever. But
Did you love it?
oh yeah,
I mean, wait, being in it or being out of it?
being all of it.
I know, right? Oh my
it's
gosh.
it's like, man, like, I don't have to do this anymore. Like, we can just chillax and everything. We did a bunch of riddles and stuff. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But and for you, Sarah, like, did you like? So, how was your Christmas? Yeah, I want to.
You enjoy this hand grenade.
Like, two people who don't celebrate Christmas. Like,
Yeah.
how was your Christmas going?
Sarah's over here going, I'm invisible, I'm invisible,
Yeah.
I'm invisible.
No, I mean, honestly, like, my family, their dynamic has changed so much. Like, my parents refuse to, like, see any other family. So I went with my brother, like, by ourselves for a family thing. And just the past few years, like, trying to get gifts since I've gotten a job and I'm responsible for that, it's stressful. And I don't want to. And you see, like, if you give someone something the wrong thing, then they're, like, pretending to be excited, but they're disappointed by it. Just all this stuff all the time. And my mom, she's trying to get closer to God. So she's always saying, like, hey, I remember what the season's for, but what do you want for Christmas? That doesn't add up. So, but yeah, I agree with you. I love the decorations, the lights, the music, but everything else about it is just so stressful. Like,
Yeah.
I did my Christmas right after dinner. I was like, I'm done. I don't need anything. It's okay. I went to Great Wall Buffet. Like, that was it.
You know, I'm real low, and I think most of my family is on the 5 love languages.
Right.
Gift giving is low for me.
Right.
I love giving a really strategic gift,
Right.
but with an American, how many times are you really able to meet somebody's need they haven't already met?
Yeah.
You know, just adding some kind of superfluous BS on top of their overstuffed closet to me is just absolutely joyless.
Yeah.
And I remember the games we used to play, you know, look out the window and somebody's walking up the drive with a, you know, plate of cookies, and my mom always had this stash under the bed, and she'd be like, you know, back there digging through, you know, the spare gifts collection. She's like, you know, let's see what equals out to fresh baked cookies. You know, you pull out something and stick a red bow on it, and you know, have it sit by the door. Oh, look at that! And, you know, it's like, oh, you're kidding me.
Oh my God. Damn, that's. It's like, where is it? Oh crap! I picked that one out just for this person.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well,
But-
and then, you know, what I started to resent was not only did I have to waste, you know, 45 days thinking about this, then going to the mall, executing it, then buying it, but all the crap you got me, now I've either got to just put it in my drawer, which I don't have drawer space for, or
Yeah.
I'm going to try to take it back. Oh, you can take it back. Well, I don't want to take it back.
Yeah.
If you didn't give it to me, I wouldn't have to take it back. I wouldn't be at the mall right now. You know,
Right.
You know what I want to do? I want to watch a movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to be at the mall at all.
So like, and this was a question for you because like I talked to Mrs. Rhoda about it, and I was like, you know, I kind of still want to do the Christmas thing, you know, like, you know, with my kids and all that, but not like the whole gift giving part. Maybe one or whatever. And I asked her, like, would that be okay? Like, would God like be okay with that? Like,
Where's the hell line here?
Yeah.
Stay north of the hell line.
So like what he
God, where exactly is the hell line?
yeah, exactly. Like, like I still want to do the, the non-stressful part. Well, in my eyes, of Christmas, basically like family getting together, just hanging around, playing games, watching movies, like Michael Bublé playing in the background, singing his Christmas
He's
song.
evil. Flat out. The devil with horns.
He's the only devil I follow. But
Oh, I was thinking the headbanging Michael Bublé. You mean the
yeah.
home Michael Bublé?
Yeah.
He's probably all right.
So what do you think about like that? Like just like because I was thinking maybe just doing the simple part. Like is that okay?
Yeah.
And-
Well, everybody's got to make that determination.
Right.
Our family has been, we pursue the Lord on a really radical basis.
Right.
Acknowledged. A case could be made that every American is basically sentenced to Christmas.
Right.
Because there's a point in the Bible where the 12 northern tribes were so determined to just pursue the Lord through pagan rituals.
Right.
The Lord went, fine, then I'm out. You guys are going to go into the nations. You're going to be Gentiles. You're going to lose my word. You're going to lose my Torah. You're not going to do things my way. And you're not going to get the fruit of doing things my way. So as we read, like Deuteronomy 28 has tremendous blessings and curses when God says, if I am your God, with that comes inherent blessings that will blow your mind. If you are my people and we have this God-people relationship, you don't have to be my people and I don't have to be your God.
Right.
So you decide. So I think American Christianity, we have the number one thing in place. I mean, we know that Jesus or Yeshua is the source of our salvation, died for us to get us access. And there really is nothing that can be added to that. I mean, that's done.
Right.
It is finished. But having been saved, then how do we live saved? We know
Right.
that there's blessings in the way that we live here on earth. There's a blessed way to live and there's a non-blessed way to live. So you really need to wrestle with that. Are you just trying to go to heaven? Are you trying to live more blessed? Are there, everyone has to design their life.
Right.
And so all I can say is for us, I delight that we didn't mingle in it because it's a slippery slope.
Oh, okay.
Once we're doing a little gift exchange, then can the rest of the family come over and do a gift exchange? And then once we're getting each other one little gift, well, it's just one little gift, but you got me 2 gifts last year, so now I'm going to get you 2 gifts this year, and you're right back in it.
Right.
So for us, we're like, oh no, we're 10-foot pole people. Not touching it with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
In fact, we've even got family now that is asking to come over, and we're like, it's kind of ridiculous, but we're like, you can give us a gift 350 days a year.
Right.
But from December 20th to December 27th, or whatever that 7 days is, you cannot give us a gift. So you got to make up your own mind on that.
Right.
Design your life, and
Right.
make sure it feels good to you and feels good to the Lord, and works for you and is productive. So
Okay. Wow. I didn't think about it that way, actually. I'm like, because right as you said that, I'm like, crap, it might just happen that way. Just like decorating, just the immediate family. Oh, hey, can we come over? Oh, yeah, everybody come over. Oh, we're bringing gifts. And it's like, okay, cool, yeah, bring gifts. And then,
boom.
it's like, crap, like, what am I supposed to get my mom? And shit.
One little gift for 26 people, and you're all in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the point where we're going to end it. And the final topic is give us a little teaser of what the new year is going to look like for you guys. Starting with you first.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited about this new year. And I don't really know that January 1st means anything in God's calendar. It probably doesn't. But it's a marker, and I think He really honors that marker because it's a marker in our line. It's an opportunity. And I've just been really sensing a couple of things. One, I think that revival's coming to America. And I want to be a part of that. I want to absolutely be in the middle of that. So we've been doing a lot of fasting, a lot of prayer, and a lot of getting ready for that. I don't know if it's this year. I don't know if it's next year, but I know that's a big deal. We need a move of God. Everyone in America is dry compared to what we need to be. So I really see that. And then I really feel like God is calling His believers to step up in business. That it's not the age now is not for us to just be barely getting along.
Right.
I think if you're going to help people, you need to excel. And so I really feel that burden, and we've seen some of the fruit of that, but I really feel a burden that this next year, we can be released to that next level. Well, to do that, there's got to be a lot of maturity in place. And I feel the Lord really, really going through areas where I'm immature with money and have worldly mindsets toward money to try to reset me and get me ready to steward money, because money is as hard as poverty. They're both difficult. Paul said, I've learned to do both. And so I really feel that, if believers are not in education, we're not going to have good education.
Right.
If believers are not in healthcare, you're not going to have compassion in healthcare. If believers are not in government at every level, then we're not going to have good government. And I think it's incumbent on us to rise up and take these positions in the physical world that we live in, not just praying, not just fasting, but leading, picking up kids from daycare. Whatever you do to touch somebody and make their life better. So those are kind of the three main passion points that I feel. It's just really getting ready for the move of God, really getting ready to move up so that we can take possession of this earth. God gave the earth to men. One quick thing I'll add on. A lot of times people really struggle with how can God be all powerful and how can God be good and my life be crappy today? How can those go together? But when you just look at what God did to set the world up, He gave me a lot of power. I could hurt everyone in this room right now. I have the power to do that. I could also stand up, as I will after we're done here, and give you all a hug. That's my choice. God's not going to puppet me and make me hug you. I could just as easily hit you. Christians here said be ill-advised, but still I could. And we could have a really rotten time. So I think that, that all comes down to if we don't step out and take our place in the world and make it good, it's going to be bad.
Right.
So that's my word for 2019. Let's go.
Damn, that's deep as hell. Like, I almost don't even want to give a teaser. It's like, well, all I was going to do is talk about I'm just going to move to Florida. And
You could always go first next time.
yeah, I should.
Call me out first. So.
Yeah, I should definitely do that next time. But yeah, no, I mean, well, for
Don't
me,
let Sarah off the hook.
Oh,
Wait, you were saying what?
I mean, well, for me, is the new year. A little bit of a teaser is like definitely, like you said, listening to the Word of God and helping people more during my journey, and also now that I'm gonna definitely be off on my own for like at least a year and a half, and
Do a little movie action.
Yeah,
got some exciting
yeah,
stuff coming down. Just
definitely.
gonna be out. Oh, it's nothing. I'm in Florida making a little movie, maybe part directing it. I don't know. It's kind of fuzzy yet. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely doing that, and just helping where I can too. Also, like so that's just a little bit of something I'm doing, but hopefully, it's really great for the year and a half, and yeah, you Sarah?
All right.
Did you just say for the year and a half?
Yeah, year and a half.
Oh, for the year and a half. I was going to say, you only get 1 year. 2019 is just 1 year. I get it, though. He's in Florida, making a little movie, being a professional movie person for a year.
2019, I start auto mechanic school.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, starting my life up. Not kidding anymore. So my goal for that, excel in that school, not fail. It's a lot of money. And just keep my relationships with the people I have. I've not cut off a lot of people, but lost touch with people that I don't really need in my life. All on good terms, but the ones I have now, the people I'm meeting now, I want to make sure those relationships stay. Even while y'all move to Florida, I have your Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of that account, so I'm gonna stay with you. We're gonna be able to talk to you every day still, not just post pictures. That'd be kind of weird. But
Yeah.
Keep you touching you just now.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
no, I just want my relationships to be deeper and continue growing how they are, because I really like the people I've met. I want to keep it that way. So.
I just want to say, speaking of hugs, might need one here in a minute. 7th grade, took auto mechanics class, took my little non-working mower in on the first day, and brought it home on the last day with 12 pieces that wouldn't go back in it. And I'm like, where did these suckers go? Brought it home in a box. Everybody else was starting theirs up. He was like, I'm just going to take my box home now. sound hurtful.
Well, guys, that was the end of Let's Have a Conversation with Mr. Hardy Brown and Miss Sarah. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. It's so difficult.
Try it.
Evan Alskowski?
Yeah.
Really?
Ronowski.
Okay.
Evanowski?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Could have gone first and could have just called me Hardy and her Sarah, but no, he's going the hard way, folks.
Yeah, I have to- yeah. That was really fun.